to our focus this evening on the controversy and sharp reactions to NCERT's removals of chapters like the periodic table and even democracy from textbooks for class 10 as part of what it calls, quote-unquote, rationalization meant to reduce the burden on students. While the decision to drop Darwin's theory of evolution from class 9 syllabus a few weeks ago led to sharp reactions even internationally, the latest now is the removal of important science topics including periodic table, heredity and evolution, sources of energy and sustainable management of natural resources from class 10 textbooks. In social sciences, democracy and diversity, popular struggles and movements have all vanished from the class 10 syllabus. Strong reactions coming in nationally and internationally to these topics. Let's get straight to our question that we are posing across. What's the rationale behind these decisions, and is it fair to drop these chapters? Joining us, Professor Badri Narayan of the Professor at the Govind Ballabh Pant Social Science Institute at Prayagraj, and also J.S. Rajput, Professor J.S. Rajput, former director, NCERT, India's representative to the Executive Board of UNESCO as well. First to you, Professor Rajput, could you just explain the rationale for dropping some of these chapters, which seems shocking, to say the least, to a parent or even to some students?
I am not the right person to give you the rationale. Only the NCERT can give you the rationale, and they might have issued a statement in this particular regard. But one thing I would like to say, you are referring to sharp reaction from so many people nationally and internationally. About that I can say something. My first answer is, why people don't trust institutions? Why don't they trust NCERT? Why do they say everything from a political angle? There is a great need that I know as a person working in education for the last 6 decades. Yes, it has to be rationalized, it has to be changed, textbooks have to be rewritten, and most importantly, you have to see how children are reacting. Now, today we have the data how many lakhs of children have leave school or left school last year after matriculation or after +2. They go into life. Now, you have also to see that how much relevance of periodic table is for those children. For other topics which you have mentioned, for example, I have seen some of the news reports only. Democracy. I am sure democracy has been referred to, has been discussed in some classes, maybe 6th, 7th, 8th also. They have talked about the parliament, they have talked about everything. And then in +2, it is being discussed in great detail. Now, periodic table, I did my doctorate in physics. I am doing something in life where I hardly use periodic table anywhere. How many children who drop out after class 10 need to remember which particular element exists at which particular number, in which column, in which row of the periodic table? This is not necessary. I would just simply advise that everything that NCERT does should be seen academically and professionally, and that NCERT should respond. NCERT should give due weightage to it.
Not taking it from...
But, you know...
Professor Rajput, Mr. Rajput, I am not taking this from a political point at all. Talking from purely an education point of view, is there a sense that the quality of students then who will pass out after going through this syllabus may not be of the standard that one would want at a global level or even at a national level?
No, you cannot judge that way. That is for the NCERT to decide. That is for the experts there to decide. I cannot judge, you cannot judge, the politician cannot judge, the ministers cannot talk about it. It is something which has to be purely seen, evaluated, measured by the academics of the NCERT or by some universities or other institutions. Let the IIT professors react, let them re-examine, let them see how their entrance examination synchronizes with what NCERT is doing. Whether NCERT has to see so many things. You have more than 50 boards in the country. You have so many languages. You have so many things. And you know the type of tensions that are increasing and disturbing the mental health of the children.
Right.
When we criticize, do we take all these factors also into account? I have seen these protests. I, as the director of NCERT, I know why many of the protests are lodged, why people take out the processions. They took out many processions against me, but they never bothered to read the. Now, those who criticize must go through every book of the NCERT from class 3 to class 10. Only then they are eligible to make comments. Otherwise, they are not eligible to make comments.
Let me get Professor Badri Narayan in this as well. Should NCERT be given the complete right, and should we just trust NCRC's wisdom while it comes to deleting syllabus, or should there be a greater conversation? What do you think of the deletions that have been made?
Listen, I think the NCERT as an institution, I think we should respect NCERT in terms of making text and making framing pedagogy. You see, the changes in courses take place all over the world, and a lot of controversy emerged in many countries, in Hungary, a lot of various countries, Netherlands. Many times this kind of controversies emerged, and there are two ways to bring changes in the courses. Sometimes dropping some text, some chapters, and sometimes adding something. So dropping and adding. And you know, in the process of dropping and adding, as NCERT, I have read the NCERT clarification, that they are saying that there are some overlapping, and those overlapping need to be corrected, as Professor Jay said, that they may be somewhere mentioned, and elaborately discussed in some other class. So one has to see the entire thing together, not in the fragment, not in the fractured way, in the totality from class 1 to class 12, what we are going to teach, and in their democracy is there or not. Another thing which is very important, that sometimes you need to rewrite the same chapter in a new way. Why? Like if you have reported while discussing the Gandhi murder, that the person from Pune of that caste, a person of Pune killed him, and it is explored that he was from that caste. So you are putting entire community in a very difficult situation. So you need to rewrite that. Even then, it is reported somewhere in some newspaper in this way of that time, the colonial time, during the time of Gandhi assassination. But in contemporary time, we need to rewrite that. So NCERT consciously has to tackle this kind of problem. And many, as you see, the parliamentary committee report on the education.
Sir, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Professor Badri Narayan. Let me go across to Mr. Rajput. Sir, if we understand the rationale right, these were chapters that were reduced during the COVID pandemic, when syllabuses were shortened given the disruption that was there. Now that we're back into more of a normal world, is there a need to make sure that they shouldn't be there? And again, I go back to that other question. There are students in other parts of the country who want to aspire to be scientists. Are we then giving them a syllabus, when you say reduce the burden, are we then giving them a syllabus that will not give them substantial knowledge as they pass out of school and get on into higher education?
Number two, the point you have made at number two, my answer is, we cannot ignore the interests of those who do not wish to become scientists, or who will be going back to villages, who will be working elsewhere, who will enter life after class 10 or 12. Let us also watch their interest, not only interest of a certain particular group. We must nurture our talent, fine, okay. But the entire thing is not meant that class 10th is only for preparatory to next class, then another next class. That system has to go. This is something which we know. Now coming to the number one point, which is very significant. What was removed during COVID, you want it to be back as such? No, it should not come as such, because after COVID, we have to reconsider the entire syllabi. You cannot ignore COVID, you cannot ignore pandemic, you cannot ignore the possibilities of another pandemic at any stage in the life of the young persons who will be working for the next 50 years, 40 years. So they have to be brought. Therefore, things have to change. You know, in the entire world, in developing countries, there is a concept of, 1 minute, there is a concept of frontline curriculum.
Sir, since you've been NCERT director, and So, sorry, since you've been NCERT director, where are we in terms of syllabus as a standard with, let's say, a country like the United States or the UK? In terms of where is our standard as far as the 10th standard syllabus is concerned? Is there really a need to dumb it down?
My object in life as an educator is not to copy the syllabi of the United States or any other country. I will prepare a syllabi for my own country, for my own people, for my own culture, for my own aspirations of my people. I am not worried about what the United States is doing. That is not my concern. I will go into it at a third or fourth option. My first option is my young children who will be here, who will be working, who are working, studying in tough conditions, but they have to enter life after 10th class, 12th class or anyway.
Right.
So that is my main consideration. Now, for many years, we have thought of United States, UK, only those children. No, sir. The entire progress and development of India depends how our primary schools and particularly the government schools function.
Right.
And this is for the entire country. We have to see the requirements, we have to see our resources, we have to see where we can
Point
go.
taken.
And let me tell you, in all the, no, one more minute.
I'm
with all the deficiency that people are pointing out. Okay.
I'm running completely out of time as we are running out of chapters as well on the syllabus. It calls for a much wider debate because there's been a lot of criticism from across the board that comes in. Thanks very much, Professor Badri Narayan, as well as Mr. Rajput for joining us on that conversation. We'll keep that going and perhaps widen that debate as well.